It seems U.S. President Donald Trump has gotten at least what he has wanted for the most part. The Pentagon has approved $3.6 billion for the construction of a border wall. Now, this means that for the most part, the funding for this wall is now in place and construction can begin. And I think this is pretty significant considering the amount of opposition there has been to the wall. Now, this $3.6 billion is coming from the Pentagon. Now, one of the things about the Pentagon is that it certainly has a free hand to spend money however it wants and is not accountable to the public for national security grounds, and certainly does have a great deal of leeway with personal discretion on how that money is spent. So it's no doubt that, the state of emergency, the fact that the Pentagon can go around Congress in certain ways due to national security concerns to achieve the kind of funding necessary to build the border wall is how this situation is being carried out. Well, one of the questions I want to ask is, why is the Pentagon wanting to do this? I mean, is this really the best? I mean, if you're running the Pentagon and you're trying to run the U.S. war machine, is building a wall on the border with Mexico really all that important to you? If their main goal is destabilization and control efforts in other countries, I mean, really the border wall is not something that would even significantly be on their radar, which I suspect is the case, and is being forced upon them by U.S. President Donald Trump, saying that the Pentagon, will have to make this something that's important, or whoever the head of the Pentagon will end up being removed because of Trump's own pettiness towards his own selfish goals to pander to his, let's call them knuckle-dragging public, who really feel that brown people are essentially the apocalypse for them. But it's interesting that this is still happening. This is going to be like the one thing Trump is going to get through. I mean, aside from the cutting environmental regulations that was going to create the jobs, which don't exist, and he was going to cut the taxes, which pretty much just went to himself and the, as the expression goes, the 1% in the country. But those real everyday working people kind of promises were not kept. In fact, many working class people, particularly rural farmers, were absolutely devastated by his ongoing trade war with China, which is set to take another measure, an even greater measure, when China begins instituting its quote-unquote nuclear option in terms of trade with the United States, that being tariffs on particular goods. And this entire trade war does not seem to be going away anytime soon. Trump seems absolutely adamant, out of, I guess, maybe his own ego, that he will not back down on this and use some kind of basic reason. So Trump really doesn't have that thing that he needs to pump up his base of support in the public. In fact, he's hurt them a great deal with these stupid tariffs and the trade wars that he's carrying out on various countries and the killing of people's jobs and etc. from essentially running the entire country for the benefit of, let's say, the billionaire class inside the country. But he can still pander to the xenophobia and the racism of his base by promising this wall, and now it looks like he can do it. But the question is that portion of the U.S. working class going to be satiated by that? Are they going to tolerate all these negative things that have happened to them in exchange for that border wall? And I think that's the real question here. That's what we do need to keep in mind, that this is really what they want. That fluff about bringing back jobs and cutting taxes and whatnot means less to them than actually stopping brown people from coming into the country. Their irrational hatred is more important to them than their own rational economic interest. I think that's what we need to keep an eye on. I want to see where this goes. Because, you can go back into the whole thing about capitalism, people's rational economic interests, etc. But what we're seeing is very much the opposite. We're seeing an irrational fear and hatred of people based on their skin color seems to be the primary motivating factor behind their support for Trump. So it's interesting. Is this border wall going to get up, and is it going to be done without being stopped by the Democrats? And is this going to be enough to buy off at least, say, at least a majority of public support for Trump's policy? Is this irrational hate going to trump the rational economic interest of enough of the population to support Trump for a second term?
Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.